You mentioned that satiety is so important when it comes to people who are looking to lose body fat and get healthier. I know there's certain foods that are higher on the satiety index. From a nutrition perspective, from a food perspective, which types of foods do you recommend people incorporate into their diet specifically that will help them with their fat loss journey?
I'm glad you mentioned it. When I do a diet for someone, I send them a list of things that help with satiety, as we just discussed. Getting sufficient steps in a day can actually, 4,000 plus steps a day can help with satiety. Getting sufficient sleep, that's a huge one for appetite. Getting sufficient sleep can help with satiety. We talked about higher protein intakes. We talked about whole foods as opposed to ultra processed foods. We talked about higher fiber intakes. There are foods that are measured on what's called a satiety index, uh, where they ask people how full they feel some degree of some minutes or hours after they ate particular foods, and they rank them. The highest foods on that index are the highest protein, highest fiber foods, but also a couple of foods that stand out are boiled potatoes and oranges. And fortunately, they're both very high in potassium. Those are the foundation of my weight loss diets have boiled potatoes and oranges in them for a host of reasons, satiety being the leading of which, and potassium being the second. But you can Google satiety index and look through that. I think porridge is way up high on the list of things that help with satiety, but anything high in fiber. I have a skinny salad that I ask my clients to eat because one of the problems with diets is that you start foraging at night. You eat dinner and then a few hours later you're in front of Netflix, and that's when one of the some of the overwhelming desires for hunger take over. And then the skinny salad is a mix of fat-free cheese, egg whites, strawberries, some crunchy lettuce, tomatoes, shaved carrots. It's just a nice salad that has a number of textures and flavors that people could sit and eat. But it's low in total calories. So low calorie density is something to focus on. Foods that you have high volume but low calories. Really important at moments like that. This is part of my satiety index that we get rid of the foods that are easy to overconsume at night. You can't have ice cream in the house. You can't have the cookies and the pastries and those kinds of things. And understand that what I just described are foods that are high in both fat and sugar and generally salt. Those are the three ingredients. It's not just carbs. Nobody's sitting there mainlining, spooning sugar into their mouth at night. It's always a combination of those highly palatable foods, the pastries and the ice creams and the cookies and stuff like that. They're a combination of fats and sugars and very calorie dense. Got to get those out of the house. That's not to say you can't incorporate those in a diet plan, but they shouldn't be readily accessible, especially in the quantities that they are in the fridge. And then, very important part of this satiety effort is to have swaps. You have to replace them with something because otherwise you're going to get in the car and drive to the store and you're going to get that gallon of ice cream. And so, in the case of something like ice cream, we like fat-free Greek yogurt and berries. Strawberries. I mean, a pound of strawberries is only about 120 calories. Nobody's sitting and eating a pound of strawberries, but you just understand the concept. And a fat-free Greek yogurt, if it's cold, it tastes good. Raspberries are high in fiber, very high in fiber. The low sugar berries, blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, blueberry, those are all great options to have. Lane Norton likes popcorn as long as you get the fat free air pop. And that kind of just, you're just sitting there in front of the TV. It gives you something to satisfy that urge. But you have to have swaps, low calorie swaps, so you can still graze at night, and that might deter you from eating those foods that would break the bank on your calorie allotment.
When it comes to protein, you mentioned the Greek yogurt idea. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. Would like a ribeye steak fill somebody up more than drinking like a whey protein shake, even if they had the same amount of protein?
Yeah, protein shakes don't provide as much satiety as whole food sources of protein for sure. The challenge with the ribeye is now it's just the calorie density, and I don't want to demonize the ribeye. I just want to say that you have a budget, you have a calorie budget, and if you're going to blow it with a ribeye, you could have twice as much top sirloin for the same amount of calories. I know taste becomes something that's considered here, but at some point we have to make those exchanges. So calories are king. I know that sometimes when people go on a diet and I'm having them eat top sirloin steak, Costco has a top sirloin cap off that's very, very lean. How you prepare it matters. You try and cook one of those in a Foreman grill like I used to do back when I was competing, and it's going to be leather. It'd be really hard to chew. But the new Ninja grill, again, now we're into 1% information, 99% implementation. A lot of what I do with my clients is I give them these methods to make foods so they taste better and they're quick and easy, so their compliance improves. And I just found that the Ninja grill, the air fryer, Ninja air fryer, makes those steaks so they're still pink in the middle and still, can be reasonably well done on the outside, like a grilled steak. And they're quick and easy. But if a client wants to go out to dinner, they'll reach out to me and say, hey, it's okay if I just eat a steak out at dinner. And I have to remind them that the top sirloin steak they're eating at home is very lean, very low calorie. It might only have 300 calories in it. And the steak you're going to get at Ruth Chris, the ribeye with the cube of butter melted on top, is going to be 1,700 calories. So I'm cautious that people are aware of their their exposure to excess calories when they go out to dinner. And it can be hard to enjoy some of the things that you've always enjoyed historically when you're trying to maintain a calorie deficit. So you got to try and find swaps and make some compromises, at least in the short run. You can add back in some calories after you've achieved your weight loss, but boy, I tell you, it's really easy to gain the weight back if you start eating like you used to eat.
How important is hydration when it comes to satiety? You hear often that, people will say, "You're not hungry, you're just thirsty. Are you dehydrated? Are you drinking enough water?" Where does water play into all this?
What's interesting that what you just said, you're not hungry, you're just thirsty. People eat for a lot of reasons. It's not always hunger. It's boredom, social situations, stress, childhood trauma. There's a whole host of reasons why people eat. That's why Mark Bell always says, if you think you're hungry and uh, and you don't want to eat protein, then you're probably not hungry. But as far as satiety goes, but we're talking fluids. There's tons of research to show that if you drink more fluids when eating, you expand the rugae of the stomach, which sends the satiety signal to the brain. There's both time and volume, which is why things like salads that fill up a large amount of space and take a long time to eat are so effective with satiety. So one of the things I recommend when people go eat is that they drink lots of fluids before dinner, and then order responsibly, because by the time the dinner gets there, the fluids will have helped expand your stomach and start that clock a little bit. I know there's this conversation always brings up a lot of emotions, but we see this in the research on diet sodas. When people switch from sugar sweetened beverages to diet sodas, they tend to lose weight. And I'm not suggesting that I prescribe diet sodas for weight loss, but you have to meet people where they are and move them slowly into a direction where they'll be able to adhere to a diet. And if that means replacing Coke with Diet Coke, that's a smart move. The evidence is clear that it's a safe and effective method to replace those sugar sweetened beverages with diet sodas. And so, whether it's iced tea or it's a diet soda or whatever, that might satisfy some of that urge that might otherwise be spent eating a calorie dense food that you're craving. If it can help with cravings and it can help with satiety, then I think that that's a reasonable intervention. So, yes, fluids can help with satiety. And even in between meals, oftentimes I'll recommend drinking something, especially something with a little bit of caffeine in it, seems to provide a satiety benefit, and then maybe a little bit of salt. And I'm not suggesting that hypertensive people should be loading sodium, but active individuals, particularly because when you mix water and sodium and a little bit of glucose, you hydrate the osmotic effect of the water getting from your intestines into your bloodstream is through that sodium glucose transporter system is more effective for hydration. specifically for performance.
This episode is brought to you by Apollo Neuro. If you're anything like me, you may have a hard time sitting still, sleeping, and practicing things like mindfulness and meditation. The Apollo wearable has been a great tool for me. It helps me manage my stress and calms me down when I'm feeling overwhelmed. The Apollo wearable was created by Dr. Dave Rabin, who is a board certified psychiatrist and neuroscientist and has studied resilience as well as the impact of chronic stress in our lives for over 15 years. By using soothing vibrations, the Apollo directly engages with your body's nervous system to naturally regulate stress responses and promote a state of calm. The Apollo is more than just a wearable, it's a lifestyle enhancer designed to support overall wellness and well being. When my stress is regulated, I sleep, function, and perform better. I highly recommend you check it out. And when you go to apolloneuro.com/Doug, you can save 15% off an Apollo wearable. Again, that's APOLLO NEUR.com/Doug to save 15% off an Apollo wearable. Now back to the show.